Good morning, good morning, good morning, my people. This is Tasemere, the host of the Blackout live from New York. How are you guys doing this morning? Before we jump in, I have a couple of articles that I want to review with you. But before we get to that, let me just set the stage of what this show is about. The Blackout Live from New York with your host, Tajmir's purpose is to celebrate Black folks across the diaspora and to have an open dialogue about Black economics, how we reimagine trends in business and explore the magic that we have. Today, we are definitely going to be discussing Colin Powell's legacy to Black Americans, of all races and creeds, but also his impact, right? Then we're going to go into some hot topics that I think is just super important that we touch on. One, Facebook is rebranding itself. So what the heck is going on with that? How is that going to impact how we do business on that platform? Are we going to continue to use Facebook? Are we going to move over to whatever the new thing is going to be? We definitely have to jump into that, along with the IRS's new rule on Cash App. That is definitely changing the game for a lot of small business, micro entrepreneurs, freelancers, people that are saying that they're business owners, but not really. What the heck does that mean? I'm also not sure if you guys know about this woman. She's an NBA coach, and her name is Dawn, and she has extended her contract for $22 million, and she's hoping that it's going to be groundbreaking. We're definitely going to get into that, along with Colin Kaepernick's remarks to Black executives and the cost of freedom. So we have a jam-packed lineup today. I'm super, super excited to be here with you guys again. And let's jump into it. If you guys have any comments, definitely put them in the comment section. If you guys want to come up and just, hang out with me and talk to me about some stuff, I'll definitely add the tag into the comment section, and you can definitely come on and give me your commentary about what's happening. In true fashion, I like to share my resources so we all are on the same page. So without further ado, let's start with Colin Powell, and I'm going to share my screen. So, Colin Powell, most people should know who he is. He has been in public service for 40 years. So, we should know who this guy is. But I just wanted to set the stage. I know there's a lot of talk about he passed away from COVID. I do not want to focus on that. I feel like it dilutes what he actually has done for this country, also, what he's done for the world. He was also a prominent figure in the United Nations. So I want to know, I've been on LinkedIn, I've been seeing a lot of people's commentary about who he is, how he has impacted their lives, what they're going to miss about him. And throughout the show, I just want you guys to just let me know, how has Colin Powell impacted you? Some notes about him from this first paragraph. You can definitely see that he's one of the nation's top soldiers, diplomats, and national security advisors. And he gave a speech in 2003 to the United Nations, and he helped pave the way for the United States to go to war with Iraq. Now, that might be a little controversial. Many people have different ideas and impacts on that. But I just want to know, what do you guys think about him? How have you guys, how has he really impacted what you think, how you see the world? Just let me know in the comments. Hey, Dave, I'm also shouting out all of my, I guess, these are my network mates, right? I want you guys to definitely tune in. We have programming all week long, so definitely tune in to my network mates' shows and give them some love and Cap, if you would like to come up, just let me know. I'm going to put the link in the chat so we can just talk a bit. So you're definitely welcome to come up. The next thing that I wanted to go right into is Colin Kaepernick. We know this guy, right? We know what he's about. For the most part, he really came on the scene for me when he started protesting the U.S. flag, right? And that was like such a big deal. A lot of people had different feelings about what that meant. For some people, one person's revolutionary leader can be someone else's, what do they call this? Adversary. And so there was a lot of talk about that. But for me, I was like, oh my gosh, this is reminding me of the U.S. Olympics folks that were like putting up the Black Power sign and symbol. So of course, he's not letting this go. He is definitely still keeping his feet on people's necks around how to think about and continue to think about and question what it means to be free in America and how does that show up in different industries. So I definitely wanted to jump into that. I have an article here where he's basically given the business to some Black executives in corporate and basically reminding them that freedom comes at a cost, right? And so I read this here and I wanted to pull up what he said, especially right here. I will highlight it because I want us to talk about it. And Cap, if you want to come up, let's definitely talk about it. So Kaepernick praised the ELC's history. This was an award that he was getting from the Executive Leadership Council Global Game Changer Award, short for the organization's acronyms ELC. So he was praising them for their history and called on Black corporate executives to build futures through collective efforts that do not replicate the very ideas and structures that need to be uprooted to achieve racial and economic equality. That right there is such a powerful, powerful statement. For me, I felt like he was definitely speaking to total institutions. He was definitely speaking to like, let's just not play along to get along, but let's actually try to make change. And what does change really look like? And he was very much focused on racial and economic equality. And what does that mean? Hey, my network mate, I'm so glad to have you.
It's good to be here. I know it's unofficial, but thanks for putting the link out there. Yeah, how are you doing this morning?
I'm well. How are you doing?
Good. We're tuning in live from West Baltimore, over Chase Tower senior home, visiting some veterans and some people this morning, doing some outreach this morning, some cleanups and stuff. So just checking in. Wanted to say hey.
Hey.
I
call people up when I see you guys in the comments. I'm like, come up and talk with me, hang out with me for a bit.
Absolutely. And I wanted to comment as an advocate and a super ally in Baltimore. I actually, in the way I move through the city, I definitely do what's in front of me with excellence. But I don't pay too much attention to news and politics and things around me because we got enough going on in front of us that we can serve. So I want to say that I actually don't know a lot about Colin Powell, and I'm learning more about him now that he's walked away from things and done some different things. But one thing I wanted to comment that I respect about what I've learned is that the difference between him and other representatives, and I want to put this out there too, is that people in office and people in positions that we say positions of power, I want to make sure that our audience recognizes that we have the power, that we're the leaders. They're the representative. They represent us. So we need to take back our power. We need to take back our power and make demands of people that represent us, but also empower them, give them our power to make decisions on our behalf. They represent us, right? One thing I like about Mr. Colin Powell that I learned is that when he is wrong, unlike all the other politicians, he holds himself accountable. He acknowledges that. And we don't have enough of that. I think that is more genuine and that's a leadership thing. It's not a representative thing, but a leader makes mistakes and acknowledges them, learns from them, and is empowered by the experience.
I agree. I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. I mean, I have been definitely learning more through other folks' experience with him, right? Like I've been seeing a lot on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn a lot around people saying like he came to this organization, he gave this amazing speech, he really impacted the way that I thought about public service. He challenged, but a lot of folks, he also represents this immigrant experience too, because he's a Jamaican American, right? So like a lot of people from the Caribbean are like, oh my gosh, he was one of my heroes, one of the people that I looked up to, that I wanted to be like when I thought about getting into public service. But to jump over to Colin Kaepernick, I'm like, he's a badass. He's like, not letting my foot off the necks of these people here.
Yeah,
I'm going to continue to push the envelope. I'm going to continue to tell you that we don't need to keep making the same mistakes that we've made before, because sometimes I think that we have a tendency to throw something out and just leave it there. And when we get like one little achievement, we're like, oh my gosh, I'm done. And it's like, no, the work isn't done. We got to continue to like push forward, because if not, we just become complacent.
Yeah, and I think the system of oppression that we operate under acknowledges that, right? So someone like myself, I'll give you an example. Someone like myself, I've been out here for well over a decade serving my community. And for example, in my service to juveniles behind closed doors in detention centers, my efforts are recognized, but I make a lot of noise. We don't make enough, obviously. So the state of Maryland calls me, and they offered me a position to be the state-appointed juvenile justice chaplain.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a couple of things occurred there, because my foundation is my experience. I'm not academically trained in theology. I'm not ordained by man or institution. So those things came up, and the first time the conversation came up a couple of years ago, and they said, great, we love you for the position. Send us your ordination papers. Well, chap ain't got no ordination papers, right? I said, for $40, give me 15 minutes and I'll get some online real quick from Universal Church, which I did, right? But that's not the implication. So they said, no problem. Send us your theology degree. And I'm like, well, I don't have one. So by the standards set in place, I'm already unqualified, although I'm qualified enough for them to reach out and recruit me. So then on top of that, they say to me, and we're talking about the little rewards to shut you up. They tried to distract me with that, but the position isn't even paid. So you're asking me, I already volunteer in 5 or 6 different capacities in the city, and there's many like me, not to pat myself on the back, but we already give everything we have. You have the audacity to call me to commit to a full-time service and role, and it's a volunteer position. Like my time isn't valuable. Like I don't give enough that you don't think I should even be compensated with a stipend. Like, well, it's a volunteer position. No, thank you. Is your position? Am I asking you to be a council person or a senator for free? I am not. Although I expect you to, because it's a duty and a responsibility. But you get paid. Why do you think it's okay not to compensate someone who's serving the spiritual needs of traumatized youth? And obviously by standards, that position isn't for me, but that's one of the movements now. I've been emailing and writing letters saying that's such that I understand I'm not qualified by your standards, but we need to find the qualified person to serve in this space. And you need to compensate them for their time to be sustainable in their commitment to the youth and making sure their spiritual needs are met, regardless of their faith or choice not to engage faith. They still have a spiritual need, right? So had I gotten a position, that would have been my attaboy, and they would have shut me up for a while, but I recognized it for what it was.
And that is so great that you did, because, they're always throwing these carrots out, and it's like smoking mirrors of like the art of distraction, right? Like, let me just give you this, and then maybe you'll leave me alone, and maybe you'll stop complaining so much.
Or
And
at
I
least give
think
them
that
a
is,
break.
I think that it's our job to, and sometimes they also want to just like be able to say like, hey, I'm working with this person, so I am doing something, right? So I don't give me such a hard time because I put this initiative in place, but the initiative doesn't really serve the purpose and the needs of the people. That is because poverty makes money. They don't really want people to think through how not to be impoverished. They don't really want us to work together, right? Because like if we do,
There's
then
power
like
in
what is your
empowering unity.
platform?
And before I forget, I wanted to comment on the Kaepernick is that, again, I don't follow news too much, but obviously he makes a lot of noise and has my attention occasionally. I respect and honor his unapologetic. He's unapologetic. I don't know the word, but he is unapologetic in what he does.
Mm-hmm,
You know what I
mm-hmm.
mean? And so as he gets older, he'll learn to refine that and have more finesse. But in the season, I don't need him to have finesse. I need him to be unapologetic. I'm
We need
here.
him to
I'm
be
not. I'm not going
raw.
anywhere. Yes.
We need him to be real because then he comes off as a charlatan, right? Like I'm gonna start toting the line, right? Like I don't want to do too much because I'm afraid about my endorsements. I'm afraid about my sponsors. So I'm not going to say that, but I'm going to just reframe it and package it in this other way because that's more digestible. I mean, like he's someone that I'm starting to pay more attention to about like how every time he has an opportunity to be on a platform, he's always talking about black people. He's always talking about people
Okay.
that need some sort of love, attention, awareness to like the issues that they have, but he's also like keeping people honest. Like, don't just sit up here and get this big money and just think you're going to serve us some BS and we're going to shut up. Like, no, I'm not having that. Not on my watch. So I admire that about him.
And another thing, when you step out and do that, you may even sacrifice money in front of you to speak your truth. But if I testify to this is that when you're true to yourself, and because what happens is like with that position they offered me, right? And I have other examples, of course, but while we're on that,
Mm-hmm.
had I taken the position, had it been paid, then all of a sudden they control you now and they can tell you what you can and can't do, right? When you're true to yourself and you're true to and you embrace your truth, maybe you're making good money, maybe you're making this or that, and those things are removed, or you sacrifice those things to honor your truth. What happens is your people find you, and
Mm-hmm.
the people that God sends to you, and the people that find you because you're speaking your truth and it's their truth too, they've got exponentially more to offer you than what you had in the first place. And God honored
Mm-hmm.
you in that way by being having integrity, by being honest. Like those things reward in ways that we don't even understand until we step out in faith and say, you know what, I'm gonna do it.
Yep.
I
Yep.
was
Yep.
I was yeah, I was a city employee and as a volunteer through the Baltimore City Police in the community. A lot of times people were telling me what I can and can't do. And so here's how God works. I'll give you another example. 3-4 weeks ago, I resigned from the city because I was working in rec center and it was a community center. And all that I do, I took the job because this is great. I can pour into this space, everything we're doing, pour into a community and really amplify our efforts and really make a change, not understanding until 2 years later that the city doesn't want change. They wanted to, control what I was doing. They didn't want people in the space because it's a liability. They just wanted to say it's open so that they can justify the budgeting and getting more money, but not really do anything. So I resigned in faith without a backup job. I'm like, I recognize it for what it is. It's cumbersome. It's burdening my community efforts. And I just had to walk away. I did it professionally, gave them 2 weeks. I said, but like when I walked away, my people came around me. HBO, like I'm nobody. I'm a white boy from Northeast Baltimore, right? I'm not an aspiring actor at all, never on my radar. But 2 days after I resigned, stepping out in faith because I knew it wasn't right for me and my instincts told me to get away from that and get back to what I do well, which is serve. HBO calls me and they asked me to do some background filming for a project we're doing in Baltimore. And in 1 day of filming, I made what I make in a week at the rec, working for the city. So I say that to say, like people like Kaepernick and people like ourselves, you don't have to be a Colin Kaepernick, but just a regular person. When you embrace your truth and you trust your instinct and you maintain your integrity and you step out in faith, God's got you.
Yep.
In a way
All
that
the
you didn't even
time.
know. Oh my goodness, like in ways like you can't even comprehend. But it's such a joy to have a front row seat to watch the story unfold and watch his work that I'm not trying to give it up for nobody, you know?
So plug your show. So when people tune in, they can know when to find you.
Yes,
I think you're
ma'am.
Monday at 7 p.m., right?
Yes, ma'am. So I'm gonna let you get back to yours, man. I appreciate your time this morning. So my
No,
show is
oh,
actually
anytime. Come through
excellent.
Saturday mornings.
All right.
Anytime. Let's
So
talk.
so yeah, so this is what we do. My show is actually called Shared Space. Being a white guy growing up in Baltimore, we'll say perceived as white, growing up in Baltimore, and don't get it wrong, I had my white card growing up. But we can dive deeper into that on another show. But being perceived as white in Baltimore, understand my role in the history we're making now. And it's not my message. It's not my mic. I don't usurp the mic. I don't appropriate the message. But with my show, it's called Shared Space. We take the mic, we give it to people in the community to tell their story, tell their truth, and we crank the volume up. And so Shared Spaces is Monday nights. My co-host, Laquita Chansey, she's a founder of smalltomorehomes.org. We do the show Monday nights at 7, and no holds barred. If you have a message you need to share, I share my space so that you can amplify that message.
So how do people connect with you if they want to get on the show?
So if you go to blackusa.news, you connect to Donnie. He'll give you my information. My Instagram is BMORE Chaps, CHAP 78. You can Google Chap Loveless on Facebook. If you meet me in person, everybody gets my phone number, wherever you're an addict, a homeless dude, or the mayor, it don't matter. Everybody's got my number. I'm very available because of my service in the community. I'm on call 24/7. Next Saturday, I want to plug. Next Saturday, if you're in Baltimore, 1700 Pensy Ave, 10 a.m. We're going to have a little gospel sing-along, a little bit of church down in the hood, man, because we need it. Amen.
We always need it. I totally respect the work that you're doing in a former life, not so distant. I worked in community and economic development on 125th Street in Harlem. And so when you think about like neighborhood needs of servicing all the people that live in the neighborhood, not just people that are okay, not just people that are having a hard time, but getting people to really understand the commonalities that we're all people trying to survive, right? And so like how do you design programs and things to basically attract folks to have conversation is really hard work. It's not sexy work. It's tirelessly long work. Like you're like, oh my gosh, I'm staying up all night trying to like put things together, trying to get people to volunteer, trying to get people to come out. This is important, trying to move the needle and also trying to make noise so that way the folks that are in office can delegate some money towards like, hey, this stuff costs money. Like anytime you want to do something, it costs money for permits to even close the street, to get sound permit.
We gotta say in Baltimore, sister, we don't turn to the government. The people actually doing stuff, we don't ask the government for nothing. We all we need. That's what we say in Baltimore. I know my Baltimore people are feeling it. We all we need. We got all the money we want in our black businesses. We have black banks in Baltimore, but let me get on and visit my seniors, man. I'm gonna check in with you again.
Tell the seniors I said hello.
Yes, ma'am. And I have one request. I'm about to put you on, make sure everybody's watching, but I want to have one request since you up on 125th and 25th in Harlem. One of my heroes and favorite authors that really inspired me to do what I do. His name is Dr. Kennedy. Do you know him?
Okay. No, I don't. But if you connect me.
You connect me. You're up there.
I will find him for you.
Cannady, I think. Dr. Kennedy. He wrote a book called Fist, Stick, Knife, Gun. Changed my life, changed my perspective on violence in our community in America, changed changed my everything. One of the first books, I'm not a big reader. One of the first books I read, and it was just like, there's gems there that we need to proliferate, and get Dr. Kennedy on as a guest, because he'll change everything. And we amplify him. He already does good work. He's got a Harlem Community Center. He's done a ton of things, but Dr. Kennedy, I need you to work on that for me and get him for Black.
You gave me an assignment. I will work on it. And when I nail him down, I will have you on as my co-host so we can do it together.
All right. I love you. Have a good weekend, guys.
Have a great weekend. This is why we have to tune in to blacknews.usa, because we all are out here trying to shake things up in our own ways that we can. My platform is open to all of my network mates. Whenever I see them in the comments, I'm always trying to get them to come up. So just to reset for a moment, just in case some people got lost in the sauce, that was my network mate, Chap. He has a show Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time called Share Spaces. You are currently watching the Blackout live from New York with me, Tasemere. The purpose is to celebrate Black folks across the diaspora and to have an open dialogue about Black economics, how we reimagine trends in business, and how do we explore the magic that we have. So far, we have talked about, Powell's legacy. He left a major legacy, impacted a lot of people. I was sharing that when I was on LinkedIn earlier this week. I saw a lot of tributes of how he impacted a lot of folks in public service and how they are willing to miss him as a leader. And I just wanted to know how other people feel about that. So throughout the show, definitely leave your comments in the comment section. We then went on to talk about Chap Cabinet, one of the up and coming leaders of my time, who is definitely keeping the sound up on racial equality and economics. He's definitely holding a lot of folks accountable. I had an article that I reviewed. I'll put up the ticker just in case people are interested in knowing what he was talking replicating what has happened in the past. And so he wants us to be more mindful about where we're putting ourselves, what we're saying. It's a definite good read. I want everyone to tune into it. As I go into the next topic, and this one is really for my business owners. So I am going to share my screen because I am sounding the alarm so no one says that they did not know that some tax changes are coming with Cash App. So if you aren't familiar, Cash App is now a new form of, sending money, receiving money. It's very similar to your PayPal, to your Venmo, to your Squarespace, to your Clover. But a lot of folks, since the pandemic, have been saying that they are entrepreneurs. Everybody is an entrepreneur, right? But as a business developer, I want to just set the record straight. If you are not incorporated, meaning that you have not filed your incorporating documents with the IRS and you are filing what is called a Schedule C on your taxes, you are not paying taxes on any of the money that you're making, which is why this is groundbreaking for what I am calling informal entrepreneurs, right? So informal entrepreneurs are folks that are saying hey, I have my own business, but they don't really have a lot of things in place that they need to have in place. The IRS is cracking down on informal entrepreneurs. So you are hearing, if you haven't heard about it, you are hearing about it now. They are basically saying that anybody that receives money in their Cash App of more than $600, they are going to be requiring that Cash App send them what is called a 1099, or it's a particular form to say we paid out this amount of money to this independent contractor, and on your taxes you are supposed to be having the money that was paid out from Cash App also noted on your taxes. If it is not, you might be in some hot water, right? Because you might get audited by the IRS. They might go back in and decide that they're going to recalculate your tax refund, and you might end up owing the money, because when you are a business owner, you are supposed to be paying taxes quarterly. If not quarterly, you pay taxes at the end of the year, and you get penalized if you do not pay quarterly. So this is going to shake a lot of people up. I'm wondering how many entrepreneurs we are really going to have after this new rule goes into effect. It is set to go into effect next year. So I don't know if next year means 2022. They're pulling this together, or if next year means 2023, but whatever it means and whenever it goes into effect, you need to make sure that this is not just going for Cash App. This is for Square Up, which is similar to Square. Most people know, a little reader that you connect in your phone and you can take credit card payments. This is going for PayPal, which most people love their PayPal. This is going for PayPal. So they are coming after all of these electronic processing systems. So definitely be aware of that. As we move into this next topic, which I am not sure if you guys know, but Facebook is also one of these platforms that we have come to love that is also thinking about changing the game and going into the multiverse. Now, when I heard about this, I thought about, is this like the Flash happening? That's the only time I have really heard about this multiverse shenanigan, is watching Marvel videos. Is this what we are going to be going through soon? Facebook is definitely saying that they're thinking about rebranding themselves. And so what does this mean, right? This means that people that are doing business on Facebook as one of their primary, I guess, platforms of them reaching out and getting their message across, this might change a bit. And what is this change going to mean if you, in fact, are a small business owner? I am not quite sure, but we need to be paying attention to these technological shifts. We know that Facebook has been capturing a lot of our data. We know that they have been selling our data. And so I'm wondering, what does this mean for this new rebranding of Facebook? What does this mean for Black entrepreneurs who have been using Facebook as, again, one of their primary sources of getting their word out? We also know that Facebook owns Instagram, which is another platform that a lot of folks usually gravitate towards when they are trying to get into the entrepreneurial game. Will this change how we do business? Will we still want to be on Facebook? Do we want to be part of this multiverse? I'm calling it the Flash effect. I don't know. I've only heard about this on the Avengers, again, with the Flash, the movie. Not really sure what this means, but we definitely need to pay attention to this. We definitely need to start being a little bit about more mindful about what information we put up on Facebook in particular, and how is that going to impact what we do. Lastly, I wanted to bring to you guys' attention, I'm not sure if you guys have been following along with what is happening now, but there is a new coach, or maybe she's not so new. She's a little new to me because I don't necessarily tune into sports maybe how I should, but she's a South Carolina women's basketball head coach. And she is one of the highest paid Black coaches in the game, right? $22 million contract that she is hoping is going to push the envelope. She's hoping that it's going to call for some more equality around female coaches in women and men's basketball. What is this going to do? How is this going to change? As you can see here, she is set to make $2.9 million this season, an $800,000 raise from her previous slated salary in 2021, 2022. It's only second to Connecticut head coach. What does this mean? How is this going to change? The article that I've read definitely was quoting, $22.4 million over 7 years. That's serious cash. Right? How is that going to change? I'm sure that's going to change her personal economics, but wondering, like, what is she planning on doing with that money? How is she planning on being more financially responsible, if that's the word to use? But also wondering, what does this mean for other Black coaches? What does this mean for other female coaches? Will this also start impacting the NFL, which I think I might have heard some read about, not sure where, but thinking that I've seen something around there's a female coach in the NFL as well. So wondering, how is this going to change just how we do coaching in sports? But primarily I'm focused on Black economics, so wanting to know how this is going to change the landscape of Black economics. Thank you guys so much for tuning in with me today. This is your host, Tasemere, live from New York. I'm so thrilled to bring these articles to you. Next week, I will have another one of my network mates that is on the West Coast joining us on the East Coast time, and we will be bringing to you some really innovative discussions. I'm not going to share what they're going to be about because I want you guys to be so hyped that you're going to tune in. Also, Kenyatta, who we had last week, the founder of 6 Gen Venture Studio, will be coming back in November, along with my other network mate, Cap, who popped in today. He will be coming back in November, and we will be having some really great interviews with them. Definitely tune in. Leave comments. Definitely let us know what you think. We definitely want to check in with you. Be sure to also follow my other network mates. We have programming every day of the week. So I definitely want you guys to know what is going on. We have programming Monday through Sunday here on blacknews.usa. Definitely tune in. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on YouTube. If you haven't